So this is going to be part 54 of the haul truck series. There really hasn't been a lot going on, but I do want to share with you some things that I have gotten and some small work that I have done in it. I might interject into the video a couple of more times to clarify some issues or point out some facts about things. So let's begin part 54 haul truck series. Okay, I'm over here at the back of the haul truck, and as you know from the last video on the haul truck, if you follow the haul truck series, if you don't know, go back and look at chapter 63, I think it is. I'll put it down in the description though. What I'm going to do is, I still haven't gotten the air suspension for this yet. Now, this is probably about two and a half weeks after I posted that video, and I told you that I was going to get that. Well, what happened was, I had gone in on a Saturday, ordered this thing. The guy that took the order went on vacation and forgot to tell anybody about it. So when I called about it last week, it happens to be Monday the 5th, August 5th. When I called last week, and I think it was Friday, I got a hold of a girl. She said that she would get a hold of the guy, the counter guy, and call me back and let me know what happened, why I hadn't gotten it, or I hadn't gotten a phone call. So this was in the morning. I came the early afternoon, and I called back down there, and I talked to the guy, Mike. And he says, man, I got to tell you, I got to apologize. That's when he told me about that guy going on vacation. He forgot to tell anybody. He was trying to text them to find out what was going on. And but he hadn't heard back from him yet. And so we got talking, and I says, well, it was a kid that took me out there that to look at it, and I think his name was Zach. And anyways, make a long story short, Zach called me back the next morning, Saturday morning, and he says, man, I think I know what you're talking about. He says, but do you have any idea of how many parts I look at? I'm not positive. Just kind of refresh my memory. And I said, Zach, let me do this. Let me come down there, and we'll go back out there again so that we know for positive what I bought. And he thought that would be great, so that's what I did. Went back down there. They were going to pull it out, so I plan on hearing something from them the middle of this week. Now, I have a haul that I have to do on Wednesday, but anyways, I should hear from them and get that part this week. That's not why I brought you over here, to tell you that long involved story. I brought you over here because to put that air suspension on, I've got to pull all of these brackets that hold the front half of the springs on, the leaf springs on. This bracket also, the brackets go through these cross support. So when I take the brackets off that hold the leaf spring, that cross support bracket is going to come off too, and that's the only cross support bracket that I have back here right now. So what I want to do, I'm going to take a piece of angle iron, scrap angle iron that I have laying around. I've got two holes right here. I'm going to drill it, and I'm going to bolt that in there just to hold the frame in place as it is positioned right now. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm not going to show you fabricating it. Well, it's just a piece of scrap that I had laying around, so all I'm going to be doing is drilling holes in it and bolting it on. But I'll bring it back and show it to you when I'm done. So there's that cross support bolted in place. Half-inch bolts. I drilled half-inch holes through there. What I'm probably going to do is, I'm not going to actually cut it. What I did before in that back bracket, because the bolts were exposed, not bolts, excuse me, these are rivets. Because the rivets were exposed, like this one I could get to with a cutoff wheel, but I can't get to these other ones. They're buried in there. So probably what I'm going to do is bring the plasma cutter over and just cut off the heads of the rivets using the plasma cutter. But I'll bring you back for that. Okay, so I told you in the beginning of the video I might interject a couple little clips. This is going to be one of them. Over here at the workbench, and this bracket is not the bracket that I'm trying to get off. This bracket happens to be the rear of the leaf spring bracket that I took off quite a while ago when I was intending to cut the springs and build my own air suspension on this thing. I just wanted to show it to you because again, what I did is cut those rivets off, and I'm going to show you another clip that I had filmed previously, and then I'll bring you back and explain to you why I was showing you this. You know, yesterday I showed you these brackets for the springs, leaf springs that I have to take off of here. I told you I was going to bring over the plasma cutter and probably cut them rivets off. Well, you know what I did is I came over here with a hammer and chisel and just chiseled the first one off. I'm going to punch it out through right now, but I don't know. I might, depending on the location of them, I might kind of opt for that. Let me just bring you back. Okay, so kind of the reason I had originally brought you over here and showed you this bracket at the workbench is because I told you that I was going to bring that plasma cutter over and cut that off, and then I changed my mind and says I'll just take that hammer and chisel over there, chisel the heads of the rivets off and pop them through with a punch. Well, that was easy for me to say, but I had tried that with this, and I actually succeeded in doing it in a couple of places. But let me shut you off and take you back over there, and I'll show you what the issue is. Okay, so here's a bracket in present time, real time. What I did is I took that hammer and chisel, and I was able to hammer off the heads of the rivets out here. Now, it would be hard to get in on the back side of them and hammer them off because of where they're located under that cross support bracket. What I was planning on doing is taking a punch. Actually, I had taken a drift pin and converted it into a punch and punched some things out. But I had kind of forgotten the issue that I had had with that rear bracket. I'm not sure why, and hopefully everybody understands that these aren't rivets as we know rivets today, but they were probably hot forged rivets. Rivets that were used to put steel members together. They used to use them in construction. They would heat rivets up, place them in the holes where the beams joined together, and then pin them over to form the rivet shape. Now, I'm not sure how they did it in the auto industry. I'm going to assume that they were hot forged. They could have been cold forged, but anyways, I don't know what it is. You would think something that was heated up and put into a pre-existing hole and then pinned over to form the head of the backside of the rivet would as it cooled shrink in those holes. But I cannot get those to punch out easily. I tried drilling it, and drilling it's kind of a bitch. I mean, it took forever to get a hole through that one rivet. So that doesn't really work. Whether the rivet became tempered and is hardened and is harder to drill, regardless of the point. So I had kind of learned that on that rear one, that wasn't an option, but yet I'd kind of forgotten it. And it all came back to me as I tried to do this. What the issue is, make a long story short, I told you originally I was going to come over here with a plasma cutter and cut this, but I really don't want to do that because I have to keep the integrity of this frame. And I don't want to jeopardize the integrity of the frame by maybe making a bad cut with a plasma cutter or something else. So I will work on that. I'm not really sure how I'm going to get them off. Whether I just use a plasma cutter to nip the heads. Maybe I will do that, maybe I won't. But I will let you know what the outcome will be. But sometimes we say things because it's easy to say. Sometimes we say things because it's the easy way out. Well, in this case, it wasn't the easy way out. So I will figure out how I'm going to do it, and I will bring you back and let you know how it gets done. Okay, so here I am in the shop, and I finally got that suspension off to the rear of that truck. And as I had said that they were going to do, what they did is they cut the frame out so that I've got whatever's left of the frame rail so that I can make sure that I can get all the brackets and stuff off of it. Now, what he did is pulled the better of the two suspensions. So this isn't exactly the one that I had because the shock brackets are both on both sides. The other one that I had one of the shock brackets was missing, which really doesn't mean anything up on the frame, that part of the shock. But it does mean something as far as having the brackets on the bottom of the leaf support housing, that attachment point. Can always make attachment points to the frame to get it up there. So these are pieces that fit around the axle. As you can see, the axle kind of sits in there. You see where you clip the U-bolts off, and the axle sits in there, and those pieces sit around this and the top of the axle. So got it. Yeah, there's a pin on the bottom of that, which probably corresponds to a pin. Yep, right there. Pinhole, and that'll go around the axle. So what I'm going to do is just take some measurements, kind of do a brief layout for myself on where the axle, or those brackets more importantly, kind of fit or sit onto the frame rails. So I'll bring you back. Got it, man. Got it. So a little bit looks rough, but it'll work. So one of the things that I talked about in the previous clip was the relationship of that new bracket on the air suspension to where the axle is now in relationship to the frame, or how far that forward bracket is going to be in relationship to where the axle goes on the forward frame. You can see this spring mount is on a spot where the frame tapers down. What I've got to do is figure out if I can utilize that, because basically this bracket in relationship to where the axle goes for the spring housing is almost the same as the bracket that is on the air suspension. The one on the air suspension would be shifted back a little bit, but so if I was to use it in where that axle is sitting now, the bracket would be back in here someplace. I'm not sure if I want that on the tapered part of the frame or what I want to do. The other thing that I'm going to present to you is I had this axle positioned here because this is where the bracket was going to be, and this is where the axle would end up with utilizing the springs as the forward support of the air suspension system that I was going to build. There's nothing that says that I can't move the axle forward and put the air suspension bracket somewhere over in here. I could move the axle forward. There's nothing. I extended the frame so that the sleeper would better fit onto the truck, and I would have more room behind the sleeper in frame length, but it had absolutely nothing to do with the position of the axle. So one of the things that I might be giving thought to is moving the axle forward, which would shorten up my wheelbase and actually give me a better turning radius for the truck. But I'm not sure I'm going to do that yet. This is all things that have got to be looked at. I've got to tear that thing, the suspension system off of those frame rails that he cut up, see what needs to be fixed, replaced, or whatever in that suspension system. Kind of looks like those airbags might have to be replaced. Definitely the shocks have got to go. But that's all things that will be brought up in another video. So thanks for watching, guys. Hit that like button, subscribe.